We are so excited to be partnering with Walmart's Black and Unlimited on these very special episodes as we head into Black History Month. Street You Grew Up On is a special place where we come together to unfold our common humanity and reaffirm that every person is the lead character in the story of their own lives. And it all starts on the street they grew up on, the homes, the communities, the worlds. Walmart's Black and Unlimited platform is all about supercharging the unlimited potential of Black people and our communities, not only for Black History Month, but every day. I'm so excited for you to hear from some of our guests, Black artists and entrepreneurs and creators, about the communities that supercharged them into being the inspirations that they are today. So here we go. Hey everybody, so our guest today is somebody that I love very much. He's a wonderful actor who I've been able to work with. He's also a really important activist. He uses his voice and his platform for social change, and he even co-founded an organization, a nonprofit called Build Power. Do you know who it is? Welcome to Street You Grew Up On, Kendrick Sampson.
Hey. Like Calvin Cato, Houston to the Rockets.
Hey. Oh,
how you feeling?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, but this is gonna be decoration in the back.
Yeah. Classing up the joint.
You know.
Hi, Kendrick.
Hello. How are you?
I'm so happy to see you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
So I want to jump right in
Okay.
to talk about the street you grew up on.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned about the name of the street you grew up on by you telling me your porn name.
Max 8 Willow.
Max 8 Willow.
Max 8
Would we say
Willow.
maybe just Max Willow?
Maybe.
I like
And then there's
it.
also Hillcroft. So Max Hillcroft.
No, I like Max Willow.
I like it better
It's
too.
good.
That's why I used it.
Yeah, it's like a
Because Max
superhero.
Hillcroft sounds like a colonizer. But I feel like Max Willow, sounds kind of
A
cool.
little bit more indigenous with the connected to
with
nature.
the trees.
Yes.
I'm flowing
Okay,
and stuff.
so those are two streets you grew up on. Which one is first? Which one is?
Willow. So my parents used to live in like Sharpstown in Southwest Houston,
Okay.
like A-Leaf area. And they were like, let's get up out of this is a better school district.
Yeah.
We're moving on the other side of the street.
Yes.
Then they built Beltway 8 that now surrounds the city limits of Houston. It's
Okay.
this big freeway. But it was all forest back then. So talking about willows, right? It was all trees.
Like when you were a kid or before
Yeah.
you? Really?
When I was a kid.
So this change has happened in your lifetime.
Oh, massive change. It was literally forest in a neighborhood. Like you had to drive through and there was like a gas station across a big field. So my dad used to jump the curb, with this truck to make a little pathway to get to the gas station faster. They built the Beltway, then it became all Missouri City.
Okay.
It became what we call Most City, affectionately.
Most
Most City.
And tell me about the house.
The house was like this red, cream and brown brick.
Okay.
And it had these trees that my dad planted, an oak tree, magnolia
in the back or
tree.
in the front?
Those were in the front.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think they're holly bushes or something like that, these spiky bushes. He had to
Oh, with
plant-
the spiky leaves.
Yeah, he had
Uh-huh.
to plant around the windows because we got robbed. Because everybody had the same idea of getting out of the hood. We all went together. And some stuff follows. So.
So I grew up in the Bronx, but it's so similar because we were in Jamie Towers, which were not the projects, but they were literally across the street from the projects.
Yeah.
And at night, I remember as a kid seeing like kids from the projects jump the fence to swim in our pool because we
Yep.
had a pool at Jamie Towers. So it's that same dynamic of like hood adjacent, but which
Absolutely.
means you're still hood.
Right.
You just are navigating
You on
like
the come up.
ambitious parents. Yes. Yeah.
It was like the come up house of sorts, but we had to protect it. From where they came, my dad was orphaned on the streets of like Grand Cane, Louisiana. My mom came up Port Arthur, Texas, making her own clothes. So this is like rich for our family.
They have really arrived.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And you got to protect your house, but
Right.
we had a garden in the back, we had a watermelon patch, compost pile, had like grew, I think we had a fig tree, but we grew like carrots and cabbage.
Whoa.
And then there was
Whoa.
a honeysuckle vine on one of our fences that we could, take and suck the honey.
Wow.
Yeah.
So did a lot of your friends grow up in homes like that? Like, did everybody have a garden? Was this something special to your family?
So no. So I know a lot of people think Houston is country. So here's the thing. Houston.
I don't have any preconceived
You
notions.
don't, but
Houston is where the birthplace of a lot of people I love.
1,000%.
Yeah.
I don't think you do, but in general, people think we riding horses and stuff like that. Now, every once in a while, you might see a horse, but I'm not just saying that's not us people. You know what I'm saying? As Houston.
Nothing against horses. We love horses.
No, we love them, but it's
Yes.
not an indicator of Houston. It's
Okay.
not like everybody riding to school.
So you
on
were not
horses.
country or you were country?
We were country for Houston, way country for Houston. People called us country. So
like in a mean way.
Yeah.
Did you get made fun of for having watermelon in your backyard?
Yeah. Not watermelons necessarily. They wouldn't come that far because my dad didn't let them in the house.
Oh.
But, you know, he had his things.
Boundaries,
but
yes.
Very big boundaries.
Okay.
Big boundaries. But
people did make fun of you for being country.
Oh, yeah.
Like, did other
'Cause of
people
how I
compost?
sounded.
Because compost is
No.
cool now. Everybody wants to compost out. It's great for the planet and all of that. But back then,
I was a part of a compost campaign where I was like, this is a campaign to save the world. I thought this was just country life. And it actually is. It's a really practical way to make regenerative soil, which I didn't know what the hell that was.
Ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
So you're in this house. It's kind of country for Houston, but it
Yeah.
sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
There's so much nature.
It was preserved for a bit, you know, and there was until they started building the freeway, and then we had all kinds of animals coming through.
Oh, because they were escaping construction.
Yeah. So we'd wake up to snakes and
In the house?
in the backyard.
In the backyard.
Yeah.
Wow.
And possums and deer and
Really?
you know, and I was a nerd. You know, I was like, I just realized I follow National Geographic on Instagram.
Yeah.
I've been following them in other ways since I was born. And I had like a box full of animal fact cards, and they were like baseball cards or Pokemon cards to me. I was like, hell yeah. The ocelot. Did you know what a quetzal is? You know, I was going crazy. So and then I graduated to a binder of them. With the pages that folded out with extra fact
and you would
cards.
slide them in.
Yeah.
So who was the pet that you named for your...
Max was a black cat that was adopted, and it was about 20 pounds.
That's a fat cat.
It's a big old cat.
Wow.
And it was, wow. That thing
like
was...
a feral cat? Did you find him in the street?
Found him, yeah. You know, found him and begged, please, mama, please, we gotta have this cat. And you know, I'll say this, for a cat, it was great. You know, it liked to play like a dog, it would dig things up, but then it would also leave presents at the door.
Oh, yes.
And you know,
Other
I was an animal lover.
Oh.
Yes.
So were you sad when you would receive a dead rodent?
Bunnies and
Bunnies?
But you know,
that cat is a beast.
Listen, the cat used to there was a Doberman, I was just telling in the neighborhood, and they used to everybody used to be scared of this Doberman.
Yeah.
And
Every
we got
hood has a Doberman.
call one day that my cat had gotten into a fight with the Doberman.
Yes!
That cat had no scratches on it. It was a big old cat.
Scrappy.
Yeah, scrappy and thick. Yeah, and I loved it. Maximilian, my brother named it. He loved Goof Troop.
4 brothers, is that right?
Harv, Kenneth, Sam, Quentin. And then if you count my extended family, I have my little brother. I'm the youngest, but I have my little brother Jameson. I have Swan. I have Riri. That's these 2 girls that my mom took care of. So they were in the house at a certain point. There was always kids in and out. And then, you know, my brothers Sam and Kenneth would come over and spend the night and fight and do, you know, foolish things.
Everyday actions can make everything change. Visit walmart.com/blackandunlimited to learn more.
Tell me about your room. Did you have your own room? Did you share a room?
Well, we shared bunk beds in the same room until my parents got divorced. And then I was like, I get my own room. I was like, yes. Oh man, because me and my brother fought. We hated each other as kids.
What's the age difference?
Not even 2 years apart.
Oh, so
Yeah, not even 2 years
competition?
apart. Yeah. And my mom thought she was doing good by like dressing us alike and getting us the same things, but you couldn't tell the things apart.
Oh,
And so we were
yes.
like fighting over everything. So then she
Yes.
found out she had to give us different things, including different rooms, help us, So
And did it help when you had your own room?
I'm Pisces, I like my
Oh,
space. I like
okay.
to read. I was a nerd. I
Yeah.
was like, I would be in my own worlds. That's where I got storytelling. So I loved my own space. It had this closet. I was really afraid of the dark though. It had this
Mm.
closet that looked like something was gonna come up out of it at night. I would have my mom, I couldn't do it because I had to run back to the bed, before the
I
monsters got
love
me.
this.
But but I would have her when she, tucked me in, she would go and crack the door with the light on. So
Mm.
nothing could come out of there if the light was on.
You had a really strong imagination. And
Really
it
strong.
sounded like your mom supported that.
Yeah.
Is that how
Sometimes.
you, yeah, right. Speaking as a mother, you can only support it sometimes.
Yeah,
Sometimes it gets out of control.
Yeah.
But it's great that she allowed you your curiosity and imagination.
Yeah.
Is that what led you to acting? Like, what was your
Yeah.
first production?
So everybody played instruments in my family,
Oh.
and she loved musicals. And the church that we were in had like this really big music program, and my brother wanted to do music. So I was forced to be. I liked them.
Okay.
But I wasn't as passionate about music as everybody else. I love piano just because of how it made me feel.
Mm.
But I wasn't like, I want to pursue this for any reason.
Uh-huh.
And I was good at it and I loved it. I really loved it, but I was like, I ain't got no space to myself. So when I found in like 5th grade, 6th grade, there was a play. I was like, I could do an impression on stage. I ain't got to learn no music. Ain't no measures. I don't go to count nothing. I don't got to know my cue.
And you were separate from your family. It was your own thing.
I had my own space, and that I fell in love with it. I was like, oh, I wanted to be a veterinarian. I wanted to be an archaeologist. I wanted to be an astronaut. I could be all of them.
Yes. Yeah. I read about you creating a list of pros and cons of acting versus law school.
Yeah, 9th grade.
Ninth grade. And what made you choose the path of acting?
Because I did my research. I started doing my research and I was like, oh, so all of these movies that show the lawyer championing the person who's been wronged and then they get off, that's not how it really go.
In a way, you've found a pathway to do both.
1000%.
Because I feel like your work as an actor allows you that obvious path.
Yep.
But your work with Build Power allows you to tell story and narrative about liberation and freedom and mental health. And can you talk a little bit about Build Power and what it is and what you are working toward?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was just like, learning my little misfit nature and like how, sometimes I didn't fit in just because, sometimes I chose not to fit in because of ideology or whatever it was, how we thought different. And I got to figure out how to build community in that. Like I found other misfits, and then I would try to put them together in different ways because I had a weird, unique intersection. I was like nerdy, but I hung out with a lot of thugs and I hung out with a lot of artists and athletes and everybody. And so I would always try to like bridge those gaps, because through this process of like figuring out why I don't fit in, why people make fun of me, why people make fun of the other people that I love, and why I love those people so much, better than anybody else. I want to be with the people that are outcasts. I want to be with the people that nobody wants to touch. Yeah. And I'm like, why? And through that process, I would break down a lot of the things that we were taught that made us not like ourselves or not like the way we looked or the way we thought or whatever, and to like connect with people through that. A lot of the problem is we've been taught since our ancestors were stolen from Africa, we've been taught that we don't deserve what we had. We don't deserve to be well. We don't deserve to be healthy and free. And, that's why we fight to reimagine what we've been taught we deserve, right? I do my best to break down during my meditation all the things that messed up my imagination, that put obstacles in the way of my imagination, that told my imagination it was too big, that told my imagination it was, obsessed with, the wrong things. And I released that more and more and like accept what that unhinged, that uninhibited world, that free world looks like. And to understand that every day it can't be what it really should be. What I just imagined is still informed by all the things that, I've been taught. And my imagination can be even freer every single day. So I do my best to imagine the people that I love most, my nephews, my nieces, because I got a whole lot of them, free and freer and freer and freer, and what that world looks like that supports them, no matter how much of a misfit they are.
How did the street you grew up on, how did Willow help you to envision this kind of future you're talking about?
When I was born, I think my Uncle Randy, my mom always said I reminded her of him.
Yeah.
And yeah, he, at the time, because he was the youngest brother and, had similar personalities at the time, he was passing of AIDS. I think that opened up her mind to like, the only people that would help him out was the gay community. And he was, on drugs. And so it was like a stigma at the time, and she had to break that down. And she went to school for counseling. She, was able to pour that into my uncle, which was amazing, and then tell us. She was very frank about stuff. It was penis and vagina. There was
no code words.
No. And she was like, this is homosexual. This is a gay man. This is what this means.
Yes.
And you don't discriminate. And so that's kind of where I think a lot of the activism came. And my dad was like, watch Roots. 6 years old, 7 years old, watch Rosewood. Yeah. And then he, with everything that he grew up with in segregation, in Louisiana. So, I had a thorough grounding in like the dangers that they were always scared that something was going to happen to me because people always had questions, didn't think I was their child, shit like that.
It's funny because I haven't heard you talk a lot about being an interracial person. I feel like you don't talk about that as your identity. You talk about being Black.
Because I am.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Ain't nobody ever came up to me and been like, white, but what else?
Right.
I got pulled over a lot. Ain't nobody excuse me, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I, getting beat up by cops. They weren't like,
wait
a minute,
white?
I'm gonna hit you softer because you look a little white. Nobody's ever said that.
Was the culture of your household Black? Like, did you, growing up, what about the music and the food and the...
So the neighborhood I grew up in was Black. But the institutions, like the schools and the churches, were white because they had better resources. So I was most often the only little speck of color in like those places. But then I would come back home and I would have, Houston's a Black city.
Yeah.
Houston, I think now it's like 800,000 Black people down there.
God
Houston
bless.
is
Beautiful.
Black, and I got a good grounding in that, in the culture and like, and then my family's from Louisiana, so we had the Creole food, and both my parents.
Both your parents ate Creole food? Really?
Oh yeah.
Did your mom cook soul food?
Hell
Creole food?
Port Arthur is like right on the border of Louisiana. That's where Bumby and Pimp C are from. Like, and we don't like to admit it as much, but white people in the South, they be cooking. You know what I'm saying? I'll be like,
thank you for your honesty. Here today.
Yeah. They be,
thank you for your honesty.
Probably,
I bet your mother would be very proud of you for admitting that.
I'm just saying, but
I've heard
I
you
always
say she's
give
your
more
favorite
credit.
white person.
Yeah.
Discover the beauty of Black-led brands because our products and stories are for everyone. Visit walmart.com/blackandunlimited.
Okay, I want to ask you, we have a game that we want to play. I want to ask you about some of the characters in your neighborhood. Like, were there any street legends? You know, this is all about hearing your once upon a time, the story of where your journey began. So in that village of your once upon a time, who were some of the street legends?
So we had Miss Sonia, and she gonna laugh at me. Miss Sonia.
Okay.
Miss Sonia was the type, first of all, the kid, Randy, they called him Baby for the first couple years that he was alive. I remember that.
There's always a baby.
It was Baby, and I remember I loved Baby. You know, we always want to take care of Baby.
Yeah.
And if Baby or Ryan or anybody got in trouble, we knew somebody was about to get a whooping, and she was the type to whoop you with the kids in the house.
Oh.
So everybody thought they was gonna get a whooping too, but they didn't. And she also made the best cakes. So it's like no matter how scared we was of that belt, we was gonna wait for that piece of cake.
Back.
And the other
what kind of cake?
Oh, I don't even know. It was like the
good.
icing.
Yeah.
It was like I think it was probably a yellow cake, but it was like the way she made it with that crispy outside and that soft, and it was moist, and then she had the icing on top.
Yes.
Ew, man.
Yes.
And then we had this dude that had the Doberman, right?
Oh, yes.
And so that my cat got in a fight with. That's a weird. Anyway,
Tell
so
the
they
cat.
had this Doberman, and all I knew about Dobermans was Oliver and Company. You know them two Dobermans in this little cartoon, Oliver and Company.
Yeah.
And so, you know, they were like, you know, stay away from that dog. It's crazy. Like it'll eat you. You know, all this and I was always drawn to the things that nobody wanted to touch, right? I'm like, if it's the taboo thing, I'm like, I need to know. I gotta know.
Yeah.
I'm like, it can't be that bad. It's probably a lovely dragon. You know, I'm like, I don't know. You know, I'm just have all these like imagination. And then, you know, one day he had it on a leash outside while he was washing his car, and I was like, that's the Doberman. And I walked over to pet it.
Oh boy.
And he was like, and it like did one of those things.
Oh.
And I was
the
like,
ears on the Doberman.
yeah. And I was like, wait a minute. And he said, don't run. And I said, don't run? And he said, don't run. And I was like, don't run? He's like, don't run. I'm like,
cell of my body is telling me
and
to
that dog
run.
came after me. And I think
came.
it came after me, it ran after me, and it nipped me on my ankle. No damage was done, but I was like, I'm dying. And I don't know why after that moment, like my mom, I probably came home, my mom was like, boy, I told you to stay away from it. Go upstairs. You know? And ever since then, I've wanted 2 Dobermans. Don't ask me. I want them bad.
I know, but it also reminds me of your parents, because I feel like your dad sitting you down at 6, 7 to watch Roots, and your mom saying like, we're not gonna call it a pookie box, like it's a vagina, right? Like that willingness to be honest and upfront with you has allowed you to be a person who confronts reality.
Absolutely.
Like you, even as an actor, because I've had the joy of directing you,
Yes,
like
I had the pleasure of being directed by you.
You go into scary spaces.
Yeah.
You let yourself, it's like you don't just gravitate toward the marginalized people out there, you also gravitate toward the darkness in you.
Absolutely.
And that is,
Come on and give me
superpower.
this is a
It's
therapy
a
session.
superpower. It's really special.
Right. Oh man.
Because I think it informs your work as an artist and as an activist and all of it.
That is so true. I've had a lot of that meditation is like, you know, we're always thought about this white space.
Yeah.
And part of what I've had to do is exactly that, fall in love with the darkness. I was scared of it at one point, and then I realized the dark ain't done nothing to me. It's the unknown, right? It's what's unknown in the dark.
What would you say to little Kendrick who was running to get back in bed with the crack in the door what would you say to that little Kendrick on Willow?
Go and make homies with the monsters. Go and make homies with the monsters. They your homies. They're there to protect you. You know, we just been taught that they're not.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And if you could bring one thing from that house on Willow into your life today, what would it be? Other than a Doberman.
It's definitely not a Doberman. No, it would be the environment. It would be, I've tried to recreate that watermelon patch.
Do you have a watermelon patch here?
No, I ain't got no damn watermelon patch.
I was gonna say.
It made like a
Hello?
little, This little watermelon was like this big, and then it was like, I have to try again, but I have like rosemary. I have a bunch of plants, but now I need the fruits and the veggies. I need to get stuff that I could actually eat.
Yeah. When you think about that house on Willow, and you think about this being the beginning of your journey, your hero's journey, how would it start? It would be once upon a time.
Once upon a time. See, yeah, in Houston, you got a Houston dying time. Once upon a time.
Once upon a time.
Yeah, once upon a time in a little city outside of Houston called the Mo. There was this little country, nerdy, funny, quirky, weird kid named Kendrick. And he didn't know that all of the things that made him weird were going to be the things that help liberate people
all over the world. Amen. Amen. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Amen. Ashe. I love it. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
It's an honor to hear about where you come from.
Listen, I love that you're doing this. I love that you're
special.
doing this.
I feel like, you know, other kids who are being called country or people who are drawn towards the marginalized, you know, they need to know that they're on a hero's journey too. Like
no, I love even this concept of like digging into your roots and like really understanding their origins. It tells a lot about where you can go.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, because you are the lead of this incredible story that we're all watching unfold. Yeah. So you got to know where it starts because you're in the middle and you're working toward that big vision.
You know, somebody told me this guy, Michael Bell, he said that, wait, what did you just say?
You are the hero of your journey.
Yeah, he was like, I had a problem being called a leader. And I was like, please don't, I don't want that responsibility, that accountability. I ain't calling myself nothing. I say what people tell me to say. But then he was like, do people take your advice? Do people listen to what you say and then act based on that? Because whether you like it or not, that's leading.
That's right.
You might be following, but somebody else is following what you're following. So you're a leader regardless. So you could either make decisions like that, or you can be in denial about it, you know, and go about life acting like you don't have accountability for your leadership.
Yeah.
And so, you know, accepting that is like, yeah, you are and you know, Black folks, especially Black women, been told that they ain't the protagonist of anything.
That's right.
But we are. You know what I'm saying? Black people are, everybody is the protagonist. I love that. Is the protagonist of their own story. They're the lead character and they deserve to be the lead character. You know, you're gonna make me get into preaching and cry and sit, you know.
Was there, I'm gonna ask you one last question. Was there a leader in your neighborhood growing up when you think back that sort of inspired you?
I feel like Miss Sonia, and then there were these two kids, Jana Tompkins and Adrian Tompkins, and they're out here now. And they're like, I went to Usher's tour, and Jana was like front and center, like she been choreographing Nicki Minaj. She was dancing back when I was young, and now to see them, that's really inspiring. You know, they were like dancing when they were young, and I don't know a whole lot of people like that. So I would say them and probably Miss Sonia. Miss Sonia ran that street. Miss Sonia ran that street.
Cake and whoopings. That's the recipe.
Miss Sonia Reed, she ran that street.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. That was great. Good job. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you loved hearing from Kendrick as much as I love talking to him. It's so fun to hear about his country, nerdy, imaginative adventures as a kid on Willow. If you like this episode, please make sure that you like and subscribe and tune in to hear more about more streets that people grew up on. And if you want to hear more about the street that I grew up on, you can get my memoir, Thicker Than Water, which is available now, where I talk all about my nerdy country adventures, not so country, but adventures growing up in the Bronx. Thanks for tuning in. Hope to see you soon.